There's a reward waiting for me to try my
A lot
future.
of people are finding it hard to adjust with the change that
You can go to anywhere you want, and that's okay.
And let us continue to pray that this pandemic will end. Thank you. Supporting transformation.
I will answer my assignment and be caused by the
And I want to finish my study. I am motivated for internet connection. I start. My parents lost their income.
And after that, I rest to study.
Being part of the Enchild family because it's the Greetings, my name is Riza May Orongan. I am a grade 10 student at Magallanes National High School. This is what I experienced when the COVID pandemic entered the Philippines and how it affected my education and my family. At first, I ignored the news about the new virus. I assumed it would not make it to the Philippines, but my world came crashing down when I learned that the virus had made its way to the Philippines and all schools suspended its classes. It's also depressing to realize that everything has suddenly changed in an instant. The children playing in the streets disappeared and the parks were guarded. But when it was announced that the class would resume, I was thrilled because I thought we would go back to school. But I was wrong because online class and modular are allowed and face-to-face classes is prohibited due to the threat of COVID. This virus originated in Wuhan, China and spread throughout the world. When the class resumed, I was in grade 9 and face-to-face classes is still prohibited and online classes and modular are allowed. Modular is more challenging for me than face-to-face classes. I had a hard time because sometimes I didn't understand some lessons in module and I need to search for it on the internet. We didn't have internet connection or Wi-Fi. Sometimes I went to the computer shop to search. My father was one of those who lost his child because of COVID-19 and because of this pandemic, we suffered and my family went into debt. But despite this, we endured the hardship and life went on. And let us continue to pray that this pandemic will end. Thank you.
I ask myself one question. During this pandemic, I feel the difficulties about my studies because when I study at home, I had a little challenges during my study. Challenges in my study. Every time I study, I hear a lot of noisy cars and our neighbors doing like a karaoke. So I will not study at home during the days. At night, I will answer my assignment and module so that I can understand. And sometimes I cannot understand a module because sometimes the module they had a deep words that I can't understand. During this pandemic, I see my parents having a hard time working to support my siblings. Papa cutting hair and rebonding hair just to provide for our daily needs. My mama also sells her goods such as clothes, umbrellas, to help Papa as well, even though we were poor and struggling. Our family was still happy, and I would always pray to the Lord that this pandemic is over so that everything will be back to normal. That's all. Thank you.
The very primary difficulty that the students, scholars are facing presently is the modular system of education, in which there is really a difficulty to understand the lessons because in modular system there are no teachers present, only the modules given, in which the students, they're going to read it on their own, and the terms and the lesson itself is quite very difficult. So there's a difficulty for them to understand. there are also some scholars who are having difficulty, especially in going back and forth, getting the module and submitting the module, because they are going to fair. In which the reality is that some of the scholars don't have really this much money for the fare, so it's also quite it's not so quite difficult for those who have, but for those scholars who have really haven't really this much of money, for them fare is already a problem. And then most of the scholars, most of the scholars, the students, the Enchild scholars that we have, really difficulty in their lives because of this pandemic. I mean to say, the movement that they have is quite very limited. They cannot do things, especially that they are underage, so they cannot go out as daylight because of the protocols. Another thing is that a reality, one of the things that makes them difficult, especially in their education, because of the internet connection problem. That's why some of them will go to the computer shop, in which they are going to spend, yeah, another expenses incurred because of this. And presently also, there are scholars who have this kind of difficulty because of the parents got no job because of this pandemic, so therefore they cannot really sustain the needs or the needs of the children. Like for example, paying the internet expenses, for example, and even their food. So it's a quite concern of the parents, which affects the difficulty of the students, our scholars, in their schooling, their studies. Another difficulty that they were facing is that not all scholars have this luxury or opportunity to have gadgets, because not everyone really has the same status in life. So others really don't have gadgets to be used in their studies. So that's quite a pretty problem for them, and that's why they're praying that the face-to-face will be realized, so that they can really have their teacher to discuss the lessons, the topics, so that they can really understand. Aside from the difficulty of this kind of education system presently, aside from the difficulty of the parents having getting no jobs to support their families, in spite of this, our in-child scholars in the Higan, they are quite very, very thankful for in-child family, for the unending support for them, even this time of pandemic. So they are quite very much thankful, grateful to in-child family. That even the present situation is still in-child, especially in-child Japan, really make a move, make ways so that you can talk and you can interact with the beneficiaries, with the scholars. So thank you very much for this.